At that time, the building department likes you to raise, or the FEMA requires actually them to have your permit to raise up the house so that the first floor is above the new design flood elevation of 12 in this area. And so that's what we're doing. We're putting the top of foundation. It's going to be water resistant up to that level. So we're putting the top of foundation right up to 12. The first floor will be about a foot higher. So it's as low as we can possibly put it and meet have the existing structure meet the new FEMA guidelines. While we're at it, we're doing the deck in the back, which is a modest increase over the patio and concrete porch that's there. And then infilling on the roadside, a very small covered entry. And of course, we're going to need some stairs to get up now that we're up in the air a little bit. The foundation on the house, if you went by there to the left, is the same height as ours is going to be. So it is up in the air a bit. Mark McDowell, who is a local architect, drew up the plans, and it doesn't look too bad. So the car obviously has to come in at grade, so we're basically putting a taller garage door and lifting it up, and he's going to dress up the skirt around the outside so it is an attractive-looking building. So it's really kind of the minimum we can do and meet FEMA guidance. We're not going up another level. It's not anything extravagant, just a very modest lifting of the house and dressing it up so it looks a little bit better. There is requirements for when you do something like this, the height change and a little bit of deck within the side yard setback is a special permit. The building commissioner wanted me to make sure that it didn't get any closer, and he noticed that it was from 9.3 in the back to 9.0 in the front, so it's angled just a whisker towards, so we're actually offsetting that deck in an inch before we come out to the front, and then so it's still the same at 9.0 off the side. That's critical because if it gets closer than 9, it switches from a special permit to a variance, and we don't want to trigger the financial hardship and whatnot. We'll go with a variance. So lifting it up right to the FEMA bare minimums, a little bit of freeboard, an inch or so, and again, Conservation did look at everything and approved it. We got their approval about 3 or 4 weeks ago now. With some modest replanting along the edge like they all often do, pull up a little bit of lawn and mitigate it. So it should be a good project, and the owner or I would be glad to answer any questions if you have them.
Okay, good enough. Doug, do you have any questions of petitioner's representative?
I have not at this time.
Dick Martin, how about you?
No, I have no questions.
It's going to be a fast meeting, it sounds like. Mr. Nicanello, any questions of our petitioner's representative?
Yes, good evening, and thanks for investing in our town. It's a wonderful area where you live, and I'm sure that by raising your house, you're going to be feeling a little bit better when we get a big flood and the rest of the houses are underwater, basically. Nobody really likes it, but it's what's going to happen in the future. We see some other houses around that, some people are just not used to it, but, about 100 years from now, it's going to be, you're not going to get used to the low-lying house, right? So you went through the Conservation Committee and understand about what they want, no lawn in the back and just natural vegetation. It's a beautiful area right up against the river. With that, I don't have anything else, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nicanello. Mr. Barron?
I've been by the site and looking through these plans. I think it's a very well thought out plan, and beyond that, I have no further questions.
I've got a couple. Is the shed new construction, or is that existing?
Yeah, so that's an existing shed.
Okay. And the proposed deck, that's not replacing decking, that's to be added?
Yeah, there's sort of a concrete porch and patio under it, but a lot of it is new, or some of it is new. So it's about maybe 50-50 new versus covering old hardscape.
Sure. And what did you say the building commissioner had to say about it?
Well, he wanted to ensure that we didn't get any closer to this side setback, and so that's why I handed out a fresh plan tonight. It clarifies it's 9.0 to that, the closest corner of the proposed deck, so that it's no closer than the existing structure, so we would warrant a special permit rather than a variance. So we'll make sure that we get that right to the fraction of an inch to make sure we don't get any closer. So I guess if we could refer to the plan revised 5/23/19, he would appreciate it. It just makes his job easier when he's got the,
Yeah, and so
that level of
everybody at
detail.
home can stay with us. That new plan has been offered this, you're talking the 3/27/19 plan, 5/23/19 revision date?
Yes.
All right, so that's been handed in and marked as Exhibit 1 as required by some higher authority. And the decking will remain open, it will not be enclosed in any way?
Correct. We would have to come back if we were going to do
Screened or
that.
anything like that, right?
No.
You know, my first inclination was we have no problem with just considering it as a special permit, but, and I'll let everybody else weigh in on it. We're creating now some new encroachment. Do we also have to do it by way of variance? I think we have to do a special permit for the raise and increase in height.
Yeah.
But I think a variance is probably needed for the addition of the deck on existing.
Can't we just deem that it is accessory to the structure and it would be just an expansion of a non-conforming structure, or is it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm satisfied with that if everybody else is, but it's just, when I see something new, I always think of it as a variance.
My understanding was if there's any of the structure doesn't get any closer to the lot line than the existing nonconformity, that you're usually okay.
Yeah, but right now it's being shown, and that's kind of my problem, is right now it's being shown.
Mr. DeYoung, may I interrupt for 1 second?
No, you really can't. So you can come up to the microphone and do it, but you can't do it from back there.
And the,
And I'd be happy to respond to you in just a minute, but let's see what Deanne has to say.
So just to finish the thought, certainly what is allowed as of right is an in-kind replacement, and you don't even have to come to this board. As soon as you get outside of that footprint, you're right, you need a special permit. But I think we're covered here because,
You think it's covered under two?
well, altered, extended is pretty strong, broad language, or raised and replaced by special permit. You do have to make a finding that it's not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing non-conforming structure, but an open porch or an open deck.
Oh, I don't think there's going to be any question that you're going to meet the criteria for
For
the
a special permit,
Certainly,
right.
there's nothing wrong with the structure. It's a beautiful structure being enhanced very well in a very desirable area. My only concern is that there's a cement slab that sits on the ground today, and now we're replacing it with a significantly more sized, more square footage, heightened deck.
It says concrete porch. Does that have some roof over it, or is that?
It does. That back deck.
This is John. You should
Hi,
introduce
I'm John
yourself.
Aubin. Good evening,
Hi,
board.
John. Glad
My
to see
better
you.
half, Heather. So what's going on in...
Did I hear you say?
My better half, Heather, in the audience.
Oh, I thought you said my wife and my best friend.
That's right.
I could have sworn I heard you say that. Well, how are you? Good to see you tonight.
Very good,
Well,
thank
What did
you.
you want to tell us so exciting?
That concrete, when we talked to Conservation about it, and I've been working with Tim Sears and Mark Corellis pretty extensively throughout the whole project, because we are here because of FEMA, so we all understand.
Understood. Unfortunately, we wish you didn't have to go through it.
So when we met with Conservation, I explained to them, and we talked to them previous to coming here as well, the concrete is going to be removed, and they like the idea of that deck. It would allow water to be able to go back into the ground where it belongs and not pushed with the concrete. So that Conservation was on board with it. And whatever you can do to help me see the project through to completion, I very much appreciate it.
Oh, no, it's just a technical question I had for Dan and the other board members
All
as
right.
opposed to any concern that you're going to get the relief you're going to get tonight. All right. As someone once brilliant said to me, never clutch
Yeah, there's a sizable.
Defeat out of the mouth of victory.
Chairman DeYoung, so Steve did mention that it's not just concrete there, there's a roof over the concrete, so there's some
there
structure
is?
there, but, you
Oh,
know.
good, and that's going to be replaced, removed and replaced?
Yeah, but it is being extended a little bit, but there is some structure outside of the house there already. I think that would easily qualify as a structure under your definition, being built up, you know.
It is a roof with pillars coming off the back.
So, and then that's going away, and the conservation's point was, well, now it's gonna be all pervious deck, it's got slats in it, versus the solid concrete floor with the roof, which sheds more water, so, they didn't mind it, you know, and,
Right.
you know,
Yeah, all we see is this here from the front, from our field guide, so we don't
All right.
have a back picture.
yeah, I'm looking, I don't seem to have one either, but, we do have it noted as a porch, which we wouldn't do if it was just a concrete pad.
All right, I'm going to read one thing into the record, which is the Conservation Commission's memo of 5/21/19 that says, John, as applicant, submitted a notice of intent to the Conservation Commission to elevate the dwelling onto a flood zone design foundation and a constructed deck. At the April 18, 19 meeting, Conservation voted to approve the project with conditions, those being a 4-foot buffer strip of native vegetation shall be planted adjacent to the bulkhead. You know, you're going to have to square with them on these conditions, assuming you're allowed. We don't really monitor that or police that, but they will, okay? And no lawn shall exist on the wetland side of the vegetated buffer strip, and the deck shall not be enclosed for future habitation. So is it your representation that there's some sort of a roof structure over that concrete, or there was?
There is a roof structure over that
And that's
concrete.
being removed altogether as the deck is being installed, right?
I don't know if it's going to be removed or
Let's check
not.
the
Well, your plans
profile and
show it.
see.
I believe that roof is probably, what does Mark have?
Well, you know, I am concerned now because it's over the deck, right? So he wouldn't necessarily have to remove it if we didn't show.
Oh, I
sets
see what
out-
you're talking about, the short little hang,
like a
overhang
fine-
there.
Yeah.
With the two pillars. Yeah, no, I'm talking about the deck extension beyond that.
No,
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 we're not extending a roof over that deck. That deck will not be enclosed.
All right, but that little
yeah,
bit of a
you know, it's-
jog of a roof is going to remain, certainly.
Well,
That's
it's actually part of the main,
structure.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
part of the
it's-
main structure, actually, yeah. So I apologize if I misspoke on that, but it does look like we're not going to be able to remove that very easily.
It makes it
but-
look aesthetically decent from the back, and it's kind of just, it'd be very costly to
Okay. So does anyone in our audience care to speak in favor of this petition? If so, please come to the microphone and let us be heard. Let us hear what you have to say. Seeing none, does anyone care to speak in opposition to this petition? If so, please come to the microphone at the lectern. Seeing none, so we now close it to public commentary on the petition. We open up the board discussions and deliberations, and I again I'm going to start with you, Mr. Martin. I'm going to throw out a thoughtful question to you down there, but what are your thoughts about this deck?
Me or him?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have any problems with it. It's a fairly small, reasonable deck, and I think one way or another, they have to do something that's, you know, right now you can get away with having just a slab patio kind of thing back there that's smaller because it comes right out of ground level. When you're not coming out of ground level anymore, then it's certainly logical to want to have some kind of reasonable deck, and I don't think it's an expansion of any real size. It's not getting any closer to the lot line than the existing sideline rather than the existing house, so I think it's a very reasonable request that's pretty much forced onto the applicant, as we've seen in the past with others, and we'll see again with others in the future relevant to the new flood laws. So.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Campbell, what are your thoughts?
I agree with what Mr. Martin said, and also I'm going to add that, you know, it fits with the neighborhood. You know, like there's houses that are being constructed around there that are very similar.
Mr. Barron?
With the discussion of the little covering over that concrete, that if you raise the rest of the house and that deck is going to be at the at the floor level, that covering for the concrete is going to be in conflict with the visual aspect of the rear of the house. But I don't think that's a major impediment to going forward with the idea of the raising.
Good enough. Mr. Nicanello?
Yes, no, I agree with Mr. Martin, Mr. Campbell, and I think it's going to be a great asset to the neighborhood, and you'll be able to sit on the deck and watch the jet skis go up and down the river, right?
Thank
And
you.
they do go up and down the river? Slowly, I hope. Okay, thank you.
I think the deck is an integral part of the design. When you're going to go up, now you've got, what are your choices? You could put a ladder out the back door, I guess. That probably wouldn't be suitable for your kids if you had any. You and your best pal there if you don't. So, my suggestion is that it is an integral part of the necessity to raise this property to meet FEMA standards, and so thus we can consider it as the special permit. So is anybody prepared to make a motion?
I'll move to approve the special permit requested under petition 4804 for 117 Pockanocket Drive.
And with the conditions of the Conservation Commission?
Yeah, subject to the conditions as noted from the conservation memo.
Is there
Second
a
that.
second?
Mr. Brown?
On the motion made by Mr. Martin, seconded by Mr. Barron, to approve the requested relief on the sole condition that the petitioners comply with the Conservation Commission memo requirements. Does the board care to have any discussion before moving along to a vote? Hearing none. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
That carries unanimously. A decision will be drafted. That decision is then filed with the town clerk's office. 20 days must elapse before that condition, that decision is considered the actual grant of a special permit. That's a technical waiting period. It allows abutters who may feel disheartened by this relief that we've granted to you to appeal. I don't think you expect it, and I certainly don't expect it. So it's a technical waiting period in your instance. That will then allow you to take the special permit, bring it to the Barnstable Registry of Deeds, record it, and return proof of recordation to our board secretary, the wonderful Miss Sandy Clark to my left. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck with your house.
Should we,
Thank you.
should we withdraw the variance, or is that just automatically assumed to have not been needed by the granting of the special permit?
I probably should have said
Yeah,
something
probably
like
should
that.
do
I think we meet all the requirements for a special permit. I do not feel that it causes any undue hazard, nuisance, nor congestion, nor is manifestly of a detrimental nature to the neighborhood of town. It's in keeping with the neighborhood in town, is so wonderfully expressed by, I think it was either Mr. Campbell or Mr. Martin. Can we all agree on that?
Absolutely.
Yep.
That'll be so noted in the decision.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for your careful consideration.
Thank you, Don. Dan, I'm sorry.
Good luck.
Little in-house joke for everyone. All right, it brings us to our next petition. That is petition 4805, 890 College Highway LLC, which is doing business as Five Star Transportation. It's concerning property located at 9 Commonwealth Avenue, South Yarmouth, Mass. Property in a zoning district, in a zoning district B3 in the APD, or Aquifer Protection District. Our applicant is seeking a special permit under zoning bylaw 406.5 and 202.5, subparagraph F3, to increase quantity of toxic and hazardous materials in the APD. Am I wrong, or didn't we just see you guys not too long ago?
Yeah, we were here, April.
We're not going to see you in another month and a half, are we?
Oh,
We kind of like coming here.
We certainly enjoy you coming here. It's just, we don't want to see you. Next time, if we can get it all in one petition, we can save you some money.
Thursday nights are slow, right?
So why don't you tell us who you are and what you're here to tell us about?
My name's Darren Lakrensky. I'm Vice President of Five Star Transportation. We're the- Thank you. We're the school bus transportation provider for Dennis Yarmouth Public Schools. We also do Barnstable Public Schools, family-run company. Been in business since 1989.
Before you go there, tell us who's sitting with you.
This is one of our managers, Travis Stopa. You can talk for yourself.
Yep, I help kind of manage all of the contracts that we have throughout the state.
Okay, we'd just like to know who's, you
Yep.
know, sitting in, either in favor of
Do
or
have a name.
against the petition. Hopefully, if he's sitting there with you, he's in favor of it. But go ahead and tell us about it. What are you looking for tonight?
So we've been working pretty close with the health board. So I guess to start with is we purchased a property at 9 Commonwealth. Used to be Dr. Wheels. They were an auto shop, repair shop for many years, since like the late 80s, doing business there at 9 Commonwealth. We purchased the facility with regard to maintaining and operating our fleet for Dennis Yarmouth Public Schools. And so we went through the site plan review, we had numerous iterations, made a lot of changes, worked very closely with the health department, the building department, fire department, everybody along those lines. And so what we were looking to do is, I know we work very close with Carl Lawson at the health board about Dr. Wheels had somewhere around 800 gallons of hazardous materials, meaning like oils, you know, lubricants, that type of stuff. And so across the state, with all of our different terminals, we have roughly about 1,200 gallons to operate, only maintain our internal fleet. And that's, the larger quantities consist of more double-walled tanks, some extra built-in protections along those lines. So going from the 800 gallons, which is what Dr. Wheels had, to the 1,200, which would help us to, you know, be safer with the more double-walled and just operate, maintain our own internal fleet. We're not public-facing is what I mean by that.
Well, thank you for your very nice presentation. Mr. Barron, any questions of our petitioner?
Yes, where is this 1,200 gallon going to be stored?
It's 1,200 gallons total, so it's going to consist of like a 275 gallon double-walled virgin oil tank, 275 gallon double-walled waste oil tank, and then we're going to have like a 55 gallon drum.
Windshield
Yeah.
washer fluid, that would be in a 55-gallon drum, and then.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the plans here and trying to see where,
In the building.
is it all going to be internal in the building?
Everything will be inside the building.
Inside the building?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, everything we have is on file with the health board. So I would have provided it, no problem. I wasn't made aware. They asked only for the site plans. They didn't ask for any internal layouts.
That's fine. You've explained it. And all we're doing is going from 800 to 1,200.
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
No further questions.
Mr. Nicanello?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. All set.
Mr. Martin?
Have any of the improvements been made subject to the previous relief granted and so forth, or is that still upcoming?
We're still working on the overall site plan.
Okay.
As far as hazardous materials, as far as an improvement there was an outside oil tank that was
Oh, I didn't-
pre-existing non-conforming. It was
that far.
275-gallon oil
Right,
tank.
and you were getting rid of that, I think,
It
right?
was a single wall, yeah.
It's already been removed.
Okay.
And an oil tank has been installed inside the building with new fill and everything like
Okay.
that, so.
So there's previous hearings that you have things still to do in terms of the site work and so forth?
Yes.
This is really just asking for more
This is just-
gallonage on the waste.
Yeah, this
And
was just going for.
As long as you do what needs to be done to make the Board of Health happy, I'm happy.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Mr. Campbell?
Questions?
So I've got a couple of questions. BP blaster, is that for the air conditioning units? What is I'm sorry, PB blaster?
So rusted
Get
bolts,
dyslexic
it's
here.
like a WD-40.
Yeah, WD-40.
Yep.
PB blaster?
Correct. It's, do you know what you know what WD-40 is?
Well, you got WD-40 right underneath.
You're right. What I'm just saying, it's very similar to that, except it's more for rusted bolts.
Oh.
So if you hit it with a shot of it and kind of it.
Yeah, I was more, I was kind of,
Penetrates, that's
I was
what
kind
I'm
of interested if it had something to do with air conditioning, you know, like the recharge cans.
Oh,
you know.
gotcha. Yeah, no.
But it's got nothing to do with that, okay. What's a DEF tote?
Diesel exhaust fluid. So with all the new emission standards, we treat all the emissions downstreams. So each of the school buses we have on site needs DEF fluid. All the new diesel engines have those. So it treats it all downstream, and what comes out of the tailpipe is clean.
And you're certainly aware of the Board of Health's concerns and input into this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Particularly so with respect to the fact that you're in the APD.
Absolutely.
All right. I have no other questions. Does anybody in our board have any questions of this petition, either or comments in favor of the petition? If so, please come to the microphone and be heard. Seeing none. Does anybody care to speak in opposition to this petition? If so, please come to the microphone at the lectern and be heard. And seeing none, so we now close it to the public's commentary on the petition, open it up to board discussion and deliberations. And if anybody has if anybody would like to start, you feel free to do.
Well, what I did know, Mr. Chairman, was the Health Department requirements in their report out, and the 9 items that must be done by the applicant from the Board of Health and to register for the annual inspection. And with that, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
They certainly will be incorporated,
Oh, yeah.
assuming that there's a grant tonight of the approval of your request. Those conditions will be incorporated into and made a part of thereby our decision, okay? Anybody else have any thoughts, or anybody prepared? Well, let me throw out my thought.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been pretty vocal about this over the years, and I want to stay consistent in my understanding and my position on it, which is that when we have an APD concern, the information is best left up to the Board of Health to chime in on. We are all just here talking about zoning issues, and our Board of Health does an exquisite job of trying to protect our very sensitive aquifer in the town of Yarmouth, and so we rely very heavily on them, and certainly Mr. Lawton is just unbelievable. And he writes us the very best, Lawson rather, writes us the very best of reports, and is always consistent in his concern for our environment. He's listed 9 here, and I would hope that any motion we have would be conditioned upon the incorporation of these 9 into it. With that, does anybody care to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman. Petition 4805, 5-star transportation, get relief under the special permit 406.5 and 202.5 with the conditions stated by our hazardous inspector from the Board of Health, Mr. Carlosson, the 9 conditions.
Second.
Well, I said 9. I also want to have you all turn to page 6 and again reference the other 4 that are categorized there.
13.
So 13 in total, but 9 concerning the actual storage. The other 4 deal with actions on the property, that is no more than 1,200 gallons in total. A detailed material spill containment plan conspicuously posted, and all employees made familiar with it. You drop a 5-gallon bucket, we want to make sure those absorbent pads get used to wipe it up quickly. Vehicle repair is to be conducted inside the building, not outside, and no vehicle washing is allowed on the site. The wastewater would, sheet into the ground pretty quickly. I think in terms of an APD relief, they certainly have met their the requirements of the grant of special permit, in that they have certainly taken account of all of the rules and requirements of and input from our Board of Health and containment particularly. So I think those criteria are met. And I have a motion by Mr. Nicanello and a second by?
Yep.
Mr. Martin seconded.
For the, to include the 13 requirements.
Yes, yeah,
As you
9
just said.
plus
yeah.
9 plus 4, yeah.
On the,
Yeah, and on that motion made by Mr. Nicanello and seconded now by Mr. Martin with the stated conditions, does the board care to have any discussion before moving it along to a vote? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries unanimously. 20 days from today, a decision will be drafted, will be filed with the town clerk's office. 20 days from the filing with the town clerk's office, it's considered an approved special permit. You take that special permit, you bring it to the Registry of Deeds, you record it, you return proof of recordation back to our board, okay?
Yes.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. And I also have the internal map if you wanted to take a look, layout. Okay.
Yeah, I showed him.
Yeah.
Okay.
When is your construction going to be done soon?
So we've kicked it off. We've done a bunch of it so far in the front in terms of, cleaning and clearing
Yeah, yeah,
everything.
yeah.
And
So next week you'll be
hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to be commencing the rest of the bulk. Our
The site work.
very busy season right now with field trips and charters, athletics. So the next 2 or 3 weeks, everything
You'll
should
have-
slow
you'll
right
have
down.
more time in the summer.
We'll be able to kind of shift some stuff around. and-
You know, it's awfully nice to see that whole area being utilized and cleaned up as beautifully as it has been, you know?
Yeah, no.
Well, maybe not
agreed.
beautiful,
It
but
was,
better.
It will be.
There,
will be very
we spent the whole summer out here getting the whole property cleaned up, and there was an immense amount of stuff out there.
Well,
7:30
thank you.
yards dumpsters of trash.
Thanks for choosing the location, and thanks for getting it cleaned up. It's
Thank you, we
really-
appreciate
Thank you very
it.
much.
All right, good night, gentlemen.
You have a nice night.
Petition 4806 is that of Joseph T. Eloise. Eloise, I hope I'm saying it right. You'll correct me if I haven't. Property located 18 Snowbrook Road, West Yarmouth, Mass. Property located in a zoning district R40. This evening, our applicant seeking a special permit under zoning bylaw 104.3.2, subparagraph 2, and/or a variance from zoning bylaw 203.5 to construct an addition encroaching into required setback. Good evening. Would you tell us who you are, please, sir?
Yes, my name is Dmitry Mazhek. I'm owner of Bellport Building and Remodeling, local building company on the Cape Cod. Mr. Lewis reached me about a few months ago regarding his plans for addition. Basically, this is addition, just adding the additional library, study for play, and laundry room, because existing laundry room right now in the basement, and the elderly couple, it's hard of to manage that all the time down in the basement, so prefer to have it in the first level, and with additional square footage as a office space. Office space, it's not office, it's a home office. Home office for the veteran, placing his collectibles, placing his memorabilia, library, books. So this is mostly like study and a little bit get away from the grandchildren. So, and it's right next to the master bedroom, so it's a walk through the master bedroom. It's not additional not separate access accessible from exterior addition. So it's a walk through master bedroom to a study room. And with the laundry room divided by middle partition in addition, will give a chance also with closest water supply and a septic supply down in the basement, put one more bathroom with a low curb shower. So it will be ADA compliant in case wheelchair will be needed in use. So this is the plan for that addition. There is no additional traffic will be added to neighborhood because of the purpose of the office. It's a home office. There is no business conducted out of it. Also, in my proposal is overhang over the existing bluestone steps, just a simple A-frame overhang with the structural brackets below. So just putting a little bit one feature on the facade of the building and giving a little bit better curb appeal with the overhang and a little bit of private space to homeowner purpose. That's it. And as a breaching setbacks, it's less than quarter of the 20 feet allowed. And I've been working that neighborhood a little bit, and it's so many close homes to each other, even less than 10 feet. And this one, 15 and a half, which is less than quarter of the bridge. We'll leave it up to you, but I don't think it's a major enrichment to the setback.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Let's see, we'll start with Mr. Campbell. If we could, any questions about petitioner?
No, well, the addition looks nice. I mean, it looks reasonable. Walk through one bedroom to get to it. No closet. And my only concern is the original cesspool, but there's nothing we can do about that here at the zoning, right?
No?
So I will pass on the question.
All right, we'll go to Mr. Martin then.
It seems like, actually, it certainly helps the architectural look of the house with the door overhang and the reset on the addition. You're still over 15 feet from the, excuse me, from the sideline, and as you said, I think this earlier area of Brookhaven actually was developed even when there were 6-foot sideline setbacks, if I'm not mistaken. Some of the areas more 15 feet, but I believe this section was 6 feet. So as you say, there are a lot of houses here already that that are much closer to the sideline, and a lot of those lots are 85-foot frontage or so instead of 100-foot frontage. So the 15 feet is maintaining something that they could have done by right in the beginning, and more than many of the other properties have. It makes it look better, and seems like a very logical and relatively unobtrusive addition to the property.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nicanello.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening.
Good evening.
So, from what I heard, is there's going to be an office, home office, and the office is going to contain just the occupant of the house? There's no people coming in to do work? There'll be no people coming, no cars coming in to buy anything?
Family lives in Westfield. So this is the summer house for the kids,
Yeah.
for the grandchildren, and they coming down when
Oh, yeah, it
kids out
happens,
of the
yeah.
school. So
I just didn't
there
know
is not, as far as well, from my point, I know there is no even rental going on. I've been in the house survey, doing a survey for the proposed work, and it's a family house.
Correct, yeah. We have a lot of that. When you're on Cape Cod, June and July and August, you're very important there. All your family wants to come down because you're on Cape Cod, which is great. But I was just asking there'll be no additional cars in the driveway?
No.
People coming in to do office work?
Unless they're the family visitor.
Right, and that happens.
Yeah.
So, okay. That's it at this time, thank you.
Mr. Barron, please.
Yes. At first, I was curious about why there were going to be 2 bathrooms, but your explanation was quite sufficient. But going through the bedroom and into the office, it's like having, this is a master suite with bedroom and office and library, and then the bathroom as well. I can understand the issue of washer dryer being brought upstairs from the basement. So I think it's a nice, neat package. And as Mr. Martin had described, the 15 and a half foot side buffer may have been by right in the past, and there's no other issue that I see that would conflict with any other non-conforming issue on the site. So I think it's a well-thought-out plan.
Well, I have a couple of questions. When I first looked at this, I was accepting the fact of your representation that this was designed as a study, and it's somebody that needs ADA, Americans Disability Act, ADA appropriate widths on the entry doors and the like. I can't tell the door dimensions. They look like 30.
Yes, because this is just a design per purpose of presentation. All the construction plans with the proper dimensions will be presented to the building department.
Yeah.
And they will
That's
reflect
between you
all.
and, that's between you and building, but what I have as a concern is that it looks suspiciously to me like a third bedroom identified as study. And you know, I was fine with it up until you started talking about that they want the extra space because the children and grandchildren come down. And then it kind of reinforced for me my concerns about it being used as a study, as a bedroom as opposed to a study, because its dimensions are certainly right in line with bedroom 1, which are marked as bedroom 1. And so, I mean, I don't know how I appreciate that a study isn't a bedroom, but what we've done in the past is, you know, to kind of make sure that that didn't become a bedroom, at least in the first instance of the home, having an addition is to require a much more significantly larger opening into the study area. And instead of just what would it be, a 30? 36.
I understand. What I can propose in that matter is 5 French doors. So that will be a 5-foot opening. But why the doors? Because you need privacy in your study. You need some privacy when you're working and you want to close the doors.
But you're also not going to have children and grandchildren down in a 2-bedroom home. Not unless you have bunk beds on every wall.
Yeah,
So
they will.
Yeah, you know, it's going to become a 3rd bedroom in my humble estimation. But I think we have to do all we can to assure that that doesn't happen. If we consider the grant of relief here to you this evening, I would want it to be conditioned upon something dramatically bigger than a 36-inch door opening. And I think your suggestion of, what did you say, a 4-panel bifold?
Not a 4-panel, double hinged door, from 4 to 5 feet opening.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that would kind of satisfy my immediate concern. Of course, they can always be ripped out, and then people go in and reframe and put whatever door they want in. I'm not silly about that. I'm just saying.
It's still a, even if they wanted to use it as a bedroom, it's a bedroom off a bedroom, which certainly doesn't go over well in most family circumstances and without a closet. So I don't worry about that.
Okay, well, I do because it's an antiquated septic system. Okay, I wouldn't care really personally otherwise. I understand studies very often get used for, for overflow bedroom space, but I do care when we have a septic system as old as this one is. Yeah. And clearly, the Board of Health has a grave concern because of its it's, you know, would no way be
I
considered
understand.
an appropriate title system. 2 septic tanks, so. There are a couple of pieces of correspondence I want to read in before we go to any public commentary on this or insight into this. And one would be that of Amy Van Hoen of the Board of Health, which indicates the Health Department records indicate an existing 2-bedroom dwelling with a pre-1978 septic system consisting of 2 cesspools and an overflow leach pit installed in '83. You know, it's kind of sad that we don't have some ability to make these systems be brought up to a Title V standard until such time as they fail, but that's okay. The proposed office study and bathroom addition must meet the minimum setbacks to the existing septic components. Are they showed to us on the ground here?
The plan does show the 3 cesspools.
Oh, sure, okay, yeah. Yeah. The existing dwelling is restricted to a maximum of 2 bedrooms. Proposed the addition cannot be used as a 3rd bedroom unless the current septic system is upgraded to a compliant 1995 Title V system. Full review of proposed work is required by the Health Department prior to any final approval. I think on the issue of the sideline setback relief that you need, excuse me, the next letter speaks to that to a degree, and so that is from John McHale. It's dated Wednesday, May 22. I am writing to express my concerns / objections to the proposed special permit requested by the owner of 18 Snowbrook as an abutter living on Johnson Lane. Could somebody help me with that? Where is Johnson Lane?
In back.
Okay.
The property behind the fence.
Okay. On Johnson Lane, behind the petitioner's property, I have a number of concerns. One is noted on the site plan, the square footage of the property is significantly less than that required in the R40 district. Well, that subdivision was done a long time ago, so not much we can do about that. The proposed additions of an overhang and a library or study would be the 4th and 5th encroachments on the property. I guess I'm not seeing those others, but...
Yeah,
I don't,
in the past few years, it was addition were added to and the deck on the rear.
Yeah.
But from all the points, I read it through many times. John McHale mentioned. I think there is no strong point on his concerns about all the additions.
Well, it appears a special...
Additions to the building, because they only enhance the lifestyle of the homeowners of 18 Snowbrook.
I think the previous improvements, if I may, did not require relief other than maybe the existing deck, which was within 20 feet of the rear lot line. It looks like the shed's over 6 feet from lot lines, and the sunroom is also meets present-day setbacks.
But in each instance, there's been a building permit pulled for it. You know, if the building department was satisfied when they granted the building permit for these non-habitable spaces, the shed and the deck, I'm not going to, well, we might not have even needed a building permit for the shed. It looks pretty small. But I don't think it behooves us to second-guess what the building department did some many years ago. And so going on with the letter, though, there are other points that that are raised, and that is the proposed additions of an overhang and a library or study would be the 4th and 5th encroachments on the property. A deck, shed, and room, 3 seasons have been added previously. I believe that the requested variance would violate both the spirit and letter of the R40 district designation. And if I can stop right there, are we all in agreement this can be done by special permit?
Yep,
It doesn't require.
Agreed.
Excuse me? Oh.
No, I just said agreed.
2, I believe that the proposed addition, given its size relative to the square footage of the property, will have a significant visual impact that will negatively affect the abutters. Is this the way the house is now going to be? Is it going to be built pretty consistently with this drawing? And so you'll have the trim boards that we're seeing, the fascia trim boards that we're seeing there?
Yes, I do actually. I can bring you. is existing.
You know, unfortunately, people at home can't see this, so I've seen existing, sure, yeah.
So.
See that? Yep.
So that, the rendering only shows the addition and overhang. So it's
Yeah,
not,
the overhang looks-
and it's all in scale and detail as existing with a clapboard and accurate sizing on the trim boards.
Sure. Well, the overhang certainly isn't much of an issue because you have the required front setback there anyway, so. I believe that the proposed addition, I'm sorry, I just read that. I believe that there is no guarantee that this addition will not be used for purposes on those statements, those stated, for example, used as a bedroom. So this butter certainly agrees with me that he shares my concern, and we're going to have to do all we can to try to make that concern not be realized. I believe that there is no clarity about whether the addition's use as an office would generate business activity that would create foot and automobile traffic, and I think I can respond to that very simply by just saying this, that if it's a business that's not allowed as an in-home business, then they would be in violation of the law, and they would be fined appropriately, brought to task appropriately by the business department, by the building department upon it becoming aware of that. So moving on from there, that's the only other correspondence we have. Does anybody in our audience care to speak in favor of this petition? If so, come to the lectern and let us know who you are. Does anyone care to speak in opposition to this petition? If so, come to the lectern and let us know who you are. Seeing none, then we close it to the board to the public's discussion and open up the board discussions and deliberations. I mean, to me, it looks pretty straightforward. We allow these all the time, you know. I mean, these sideline additions are unfortunate. We have a lot of lots in one area of town where there's 5,000 square feet on those lots, and I don't know how anybody could ever not want to come into the more modern world with a slightly bigger structure than was originally allowed on a 5,000 square foot lot.
Correct.
Without some degree of minor encroachment, and this certainly looks like a minor encroachment to me. I don't know. I can't see that this would cause any undue hazard, nuisance, nor congestion. I think it would improve the existing character of the neighborhood by making this a more attractive house. I think Mr. Martin and I share that like of setbacks on the visual front line of the building, and that it gives it a new character. And, you know, it's an awful small house. You gotta make some accommodations in life, so.
So we would be moving for a special permit and not variance?
That's correct.
Yeah, it's by special permit. I think that's an appropriate bit of remedy, but also I think that they meet the criteria clearly for a special permit.
Yeah.
Is anybody prepared to make a motion?
Do you want any other comments or
Me?
any other discussion?
Well, you feel free to have a discussion.
Okay. Yeah, I would just concur with what the chairman just said, relevant to that. It's certainly making it a better-looking building. I think it's a fairly minor relief that's required here with the addition that the petitioner seems to be willing to do of a 5-foot bifold door, so it would seem to reduce the possibility of that being used as more of a bedroom. Not that I think that's too likely coming off a bedroom anyways, but that would certainly preclude, I think, it being anything other than an extra little sitting area. And I think when the grandchildren are down, that's going to be a place that the owners go to get away from the grandchildren. So I think it certainly is a logical request, and I'll go ahead and make a motion unless anybody else had other additions.
A second.
And on that sole condition that you just discussed, which is a minimum of either a bifold, a French door.
Right, so I'd move to approve petition 4806 for 18 Snowbrook Road, West Yarmouth, subject to the door between what's noted as existing bedroom 2 and proposed office study be a 5-foot bifold door to Yeah, I think that's fine. Leave it there.
5 foot of more than 3 feet for four, because the bifold, 4 foot bifold, 5 foot bifold, it's pretty huge.
Oh, okay. I thought you mentioned 5 foot, no?
I said 5 foot, but if we can make it 4, so it's not that.
Okay, then we'll change that to at least 4 feet.
Because right here, there is a master bed, and you don't want to encroach with the
That's-
opening.
That's your
into
wall,
the-
that's your wall space, in other words.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because
I
the
got it.
bed placed right next to the wall, so you want to bite into the headboard of the master bed.
Then I'd amend that to say no less than 4 feet.
Okay, no less than 4. And
Okay, thank you very much.
can we also add one other condition, that it specifically not be utilized in any fashion as a bedroom?
That's fine.
Now, Mr. Nicanello, you seconded that motion, but now we've added to it. Are you still seconding?
Yes, sir. No bedroom. Within reason, best of ability.
Sworn that motion made by Mr. Martin, seconded by Mr. Nicanello with the stated 2 conditions. Does the board care to have any discussion before moving it along to a vote? And hearing none, all those in favor of the motion made and seconded, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
That carries unanimously. A decision will be drafted, it will be filed with the town clerk's office 20 days after it's filed. It has to go by before you can then bring the special permit to the Registry of Deeds for recordation, return proof of recordation back to our board secretary, and then get your building permit and go forward, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
One brief thing, gentlemen.
You did it
before
in
we
an
leave
hour.
tonight. Excuse me, we've all had a look-see at the meeting minutes. For those that, some of us sat on, some of us didn't. They were sent to us by Ms. Clark in anticipation of the meeting here tonight. I'm sure you've all read them, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've all read them, sure. Any that you sat on, you might have interest in. On the ones that I sat on, I was satisfied with everything, and does anybody care to, in bulk, move relative to the minutes prepared
moved.
by?
Second.
Okay, so there was a move by Mr. Nicanello, second by Mr. Campbell, or Mr. Campbell, sure. All right, to approve the minutes as presented by Ms. Clark for the various meetings to bring us up to date. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
That carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Clark, for staying on top of it for us. And with that, we adjourn the meeting, right?
Yep, thank you.
Good enough.
Move to adjourn.